Hey Bob, I'm just sitting out here on my deck. It's Sunday night and I'm sitting here reflecting on some of the wonderful memories I have of you and all good times. All the way back from when we were kids. We going to the zoo with your mom and dad and then you and I and John playing football. Then it kind of migrated to the days back at Skateland, and we were running around at Skateland, and you've always been in my corner, and you're one of the most important persons in my life. And I recall, our hunting days. We went on that one hunting trip, and we were sitting there having lunch. And I remember eating a burger and pizzas and just eating. And Bob said, "How do you eat that much?" The smile on your face just amazed me. And then I remember the drive home. There was a snowstorm, ice everywhere, and I was driving, pulling a camper, and that car went whizzing on by us. You remember? It went whizzing on by us, and I said, "See you on down the road in the ditch." And we go about 3 or 4 miles up the road, and there he was in the ditch. And then, there were so many hunting trips out to Friend in the Dakin area, and then O'Neill trip. And then here, a couple years ago, I met you out at the lake, and you and I went fishing for the day, just together, you and I. Whenever I needed you, you were the first person I called when Claudia was in the hospital, and you dropped what you're doing and came up. I loved you. Think of this in the cheerful times, whenever it gets tough. And I'm there for you. I love you, buddy. Bye.
Hi. Good morning, Bob. I'm here to enjoy a cup of coffee with you this morning, as I didn't visit with you. And I wanted to tell you how much I enjoy the hunting and the fishing and the dog training stories that you have had throughout the years, and how much fun it is to sit and listen to you retell the stories over and over and over. Thank you also for being so kind and helping us with our dad when he was sick his last 2 years. Your kindness really shows, and I think you can attribute back to your mom and your dad, and that Linda and Maddie are so fortunate to have that kindness in their lives. So from my family, from TJ and Becky and Ryan, their spouses, the grandkids, we are sending you love in abundance. And the Lord is good, and He's got you covered with His love. I love you, Bob, and I have my cup of coffee here still, so cheers, Bob. Bye-bye.
Hi, Bob. Unfortunately, Bob, we can't be with you this evening. I just wanted to say how wonderful of a person you are and give you a few memories that I had with you. The first one I had, which was the summer of 1979, when you saved my life out at Medicine Creek Lake. I was being chased around the campground by my brother, and you came to my rescue. So the other memories I have with you are mostly involving hunting and training dogs, but what a wonderful time I had with you. Every morning we'd go out and sit and have a cup of coffee and train the dogs, and you'd give me your wisdom about how to train dogs. And it was such an enjoyable time for us. Would anybody else like to say something?
Bob, I remember, this is a little funny story, when we watched Otis, and you were gone. I don't know where you went, but while we had Otis, we enjoyed dressing up, and one of their favorite costumes was Gracie's tutu. And I think we took a picture of that and gave it to you, but I always think of that when I think of you.
Anybody else want a fishing trip up in South Dakota? Or? All right. One other memory I'm going to have for the rest of my life is, Bob, I lent you a gun, and it got a little nick in it, and you've always wanted to get that fixed. And I don't ever think I'm going to have that fixed. Whenever we use that gun, it's going to bring back a lot of memories, because I'll see that nick, and it'll bring me memories of you. We love you, Bob, and Andrew would like to say a little prayer.
Father and Son, dear Lord, we thank you for all these great memories that you've given us together. Help us to know of the love that you share with us through all the connections that we have and all the people that we've met. We thank you for Bob specifically, for him being such a great friend and family member to us all. And we ask that you show your love to Bob and help all of us to remember you and all the great memories that you've given us. We say this as we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Love you, Bob.
Love you, Bob.
Love you, Bob.
I want to share some memories with you. Some of my first memories of you, Bob, are my dad taking my brother Scott and I down to your house on 14th Street, and your dad would cut our hair. And I remember that you and Dad had a special relationship, and that he was always enamored by you and the things that you were inquisitive about, inclusive of your magic that you did at the time and your passion. I remember you had a little train set. It was A gauge or H gauge, but it was a little teeny thing. And I can remember you sharing that with Dad, and it was special. Fast forward maybe 8 years, and we're all very young men. And I can remember that you went camping with us, and it was us, Uncle Joe and his family, Aunt Lena, Shelley, and James. And then we also had like Bo Malachek, George Malachek went with us. And they all had campers. And you brought your javelin, your silver javelin. And what I remember about your silver javelin, Bob, was the starter was out. And so everywhere that we went, you and I had to push that javelin, and you would drop the clutch and get the thing started. And what's funny now, looking back years later, is why didn't those men, Dad and Uncle Joe, say to you, Bob, let's get you a new starter? Well, it could be argued, well, it's because they were the greatest generation and they wanted you to learn to be self-sufficient and make do with less until you figured it out. Or maybe it was just the fact that I don't want to do that. I want to go fishing, right? And but either way, we were self-sufficient. We made things work, and we had some good times. I can remember that Uncle Joe and Dad's beer cooler was always significantly lower than what perhaps it should be every day. And Dad even made mention of it to us. Hey, where's all my beer going? Well, he kind of knew, and he was okay with it. Because, Bob, I think you taught Scott and I how to drink beer. We had this little tent that we stayed in. And I can remember we had our own campfire. And One thing that people think, I've heard stories about and think they're awfully funny, and it's not funny to me much, but it is to you guys. And that's when you and Scott held me down and you made me kiss a frog. And it was the same night, Bob. It was the same night that you and Scott and I were around the campfire and we were drinking Dad's Old Milwaukee. And Scott actually stepped through the fire, and unbeknownst to him, his pant leg had caught fire, and he started running. And as soon as I saw that, I can remember leaping up and chasing after him and telling him to stop. And he just kept running faster and faster. And for me, to be quite honest, it was like a nightmare because I couldn't reach him. And Scott's always been stronger, more athletic, and much faster than I ever was. And I can remember we ran through that campground and he must have ran a block. He was aflame. By this point in time, the flames were licking up the back of his leg and onto his shirt. And I think he was running so fast, I don't even think he got burned. But all I know is I had this fear and trepidation in my heart that my brother's going to die, and I couldn't quite reach him. And all of a sudden, boom, I see this flash past me. And you ran up and you tackled him and you did the stop, drop, and roll thing. And I think I showed up maybe 10, 20 seconds later, and you saved his life. And I'm so appreciative of that. And well, that's just a great memory. And Bob, in all honesty, my greatest memories of you are your kindness and your love for others. I can remember when my dad took ill and had a stroke, and he was in a hospital or a rest home. What I remember is this: it was my family, my sisters, my brother, and I, and my mom. Whether we were in the hospital, whether we were at the rest home or at home talking about issues surrounding that, there was always another person there with us, and that was you. I know that you and Dad shared a very, very, very special thing together, and it's a great memory. Bob, you need to know you've always been a mentor to me. Whether it was way back then when we were camping and fishing, or the times that you spent out here fishing with us, the cousins. Gosh, I've loved every minute of it. And Bob, you need to know that you have a special place in my heart, and I love you.
I love you, Bob. I'm gonna miss you.
Bob, I just want to share some memories I have with you. Started at a young age. We hang out with you guys all the time. You're like the second family. But here's a picture of us in Minnesota. Me sitting on your knee as a little boy at Costello Resort in 1976. Remember always looking forward to fishing with you because you could always catch fish. And when I got to go, I was ecstatic. As long as I wasn't, I do remember the time that I kept snagging on everything and having to go to the bathroom, and I think I was driving you crazy because you were a pretty serious fisherman. But fondest memories probably would be fishing tournaments with you. It was just awesome. And training Trigger, you helped me train Ab, and that was great too. But and also the trip to Oregon was a blast. Standing on the back of the boat with you, baiting the hooks and just bullshit. It was great. Just want you to know I love you, man. A lot of great memories. You're like a brother to me. Love you, Bob.
Hi, Bob. I was up all night trying to think about what to say on this video. And you know me, I'm not one of many words. But I wanted to say how much I love you and how much you mean to me. And I remember when I told you about Mackenzie and how she was pregnant, and her and Kate were going to get married, and you said, do you want me to go over there and talk to him? And that's how you made me feel like you always had my back, and you would always be there if I needed you. I love you with all my heart.
We love you.
Stay strong and miracles happen all the time.
Bob, we're thinking about you.
We're praying for you.
Hi, Bobby. It's Aunt Ben, and I just wanted to tell you that I love you and I wanted to come see you, but with all this virus going around, it wasn't possible. I want to let you know what an important part of this family you are, and how patient you were when we went fishing with Stanley and Jesse. And they were always bugging you, and I told them they had to leave you alone. So they decided to be spies, and you wouldn't know they were there. They were sneaking around all the time. You were so patient with them. And I just wanted to let you know that I love you and that the Lord loves you more.
I love all you cousins. You guys are all, especially you Hubbards, man. You guys got a lot of fun stuff. You always remember you and John had those RC airplanes. And I remember seeing those over there, and you guys had just a lot of cool stuff going on in your lives. And you had an awesome family. Your parents were my godparents. You don't know if you knew that or not, but I'll never forget. They came over to our house when I was probably 16. Yeah, I had that old Chrysler, that big old limousine looking thing. And anyway, they pulled in our driveway, and they were in talking to my mom and dad, just kind of hanging out, visiting. And I jumped in my car, put it in reverse, went back, bam, smashed right into that 50, I think they had a 56 Chevy, and or 55, I think it was a 55 Chevy. And I thought, oh no, because I remember I saw them sitting there on the couch talking to my mom and dad, and so I go in and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. I said, but you haven't seen the damage. Oh, don't worry about it, and your dad goes out and there's nothing there, just nothing, let me off the hook. I'm like, man. Anyway, then your dad always let my brother Freddie off the hook, when you pull him over, doing stupid stuff that we always did. Oh my gosh, yes. And but I remember way back, you may not remember it as vivid as I do, but we all went camping. We went in that old school bus, we went up to Fremont Lakes, I think it was, and all you kids, man, it was we were all kids, and so we were like ants running around everywhere, and getting into the water, and I'm sure anyway, that was quite an ordeal. And then and all the parties, those were some awesome parties. And I didn't gamble or play poker. I wasn't any good at it. And but I always remember seeing you guys all sitting there on the table, throwing stuff down and yelling at each other. It was fun to watch, and you guys had a great time. There was a lot of laughing, more laughing than yelling, I gotta say. So I remember you guys had that house down there, and you guys had that laundry chute, and you'd throw Stevie down the chute. He had fun all the way down, I think. And I thought, man, I wish I had one of those. If we could have had one of those, I was going to throw Sam down one. And then you guys came to my wedding, clear out in Lincoln. I couldn't believe it. It's like, that was a long ways for you guys to drive, and so we didn't get to spend enough time with each other. And I guess if there's any regrets, that's the regret I have. Every time, I can't think of a time I never saw you where you weren't smiling and or laughing. We always had good times talking about stories and talking about family, but I want you to know, and I love you, Bob. So you take care, and I'll see you later.
Is for some reason we had you and my brothers weren't there, so I took you with me to hang out with my friends out in the country on 72nd Street north of Benassi Airport. And they had a bunch of old junk vehicles, and we got one piece together, but we didn't know how to drive it. It was 3 on the tree. But you knew how. You said your dad taught you how to do it. So you taught us how. After we got done playing around, we let you drive. Well, somewhere buried out in that tall green grass was a rear end, and you drove about 30 seconds. You backed over the rear end, and that was the end of it. But we had a good time anyway. But we always remember that you taught us to drive 3 on the tree. And I love seeing you when we have the cousins breakfast, when I get to come and you get to be there.
Hey Bob, how you doing? I guess sounds like things ain't doing so good for you. Some of the medical took a turn for the worst, but I keep hoping, so does Vicky. But I thought I'd kind of talk to you for a minute about what's going on out here. I got more stuff than you can shake a stick at to play with. And as you know, I play mechanic on everything. And one of my latest toys that I had acquired is a road grader. Here's kind of the picture of it, of what's been going on. It was kind of a mess when I got it. Just gives me something to do to stay out of trouble, I hope. Of course, that ain't keeping me out of trouble much. Here's another toy of mine that I'm working on. They said it was a complete total when I got it. And I'm working on it. It'll come around. I'm hoping here in a couple of months to have that up and going too. Cab caught on fire and burned everything up. Just entertainment for me. Picked up another cab and redoing the hydraulics and the electrical. Got most of the electrical done. Purchased another cab for it, right there. Come out of a junkyard out of Des Moines, Iowa. That's my house on the side. Some of my vehicles, I say, some. Because there's probably somewhere around 10 of them out here of mine. That's my view every morning I get a look at. That's the mountains, that's Pikes Peak, kind of clouded over right now. I don't know what else I could possibly say, other than I wish you well. You take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hey Bob, I just wanted to tell you how much I enjoyed just even the breakfasts that we would get to, that Sharon put together. Such a great idea. I loved going up to Sam's and out there fishing, and we just had such a great time. And I have to say, one of my favorite memories is here down below. Mike's cooking up breakfast and putting it all together, and I'm handing plates out to people, and you guys are sitting on the deck, and here goes this boat of people, and they go by and they're like shoulder to shoulder in this little tiny boat. There had to be 25 people, and water's going over the sides, and people are getting wet, and we're just, hey, how you doing, you know? I don't think they appreciated our position and how much fun we were having, and I don't know, they were paying good money. You couldn't pay me enough to be out there. So, but what great fun just getting to connect again and, you know, talk about our dads and talk about growing up and our families and some of the parties, and, you know, we just, it was just a really good time for me. And I also remember there's a great memory of we had come over to the Hubbard house, and we were, you know, my mindset is, you know, I mean, going to the Hubbard's house is you always had plenty of people. You could play football. I mean, you could have, you could do so many things. And we did do too many things, like get in trouble, and remember getting caught smoking, and your dad making us all light up. And anyway, So we came there, and I was in the mindset of having fun, but you had come out, and that was not your mindset at all. You come out and you glowed. I mean, you had white shorts on, you had brand new, tennis shoes on and socks pulled up to the knee, and you had this great shirt on, and you had your hair combed. You looked great. And you stood at the top of the steps, and you had this great grin on your face. I don't even know what was happening, and you bolted off. And so I think it was John or Steve or somebody who says, well, where's Bob going? So, oh, he's going to go see a girl. And, you must have been 12, but I was young enough where it's like, why? Why go see a girl? And I was a little bit set back that we weren't going to have a great time, but I'm sure we did anyway. But as you pass through this process, and as you cross to the other side, I imagine you with your new body and with your new clothes, new garments, and that grin on your face, that damn grin from ear to ear, and you're bolting off because you've come to see somebody, and you're going to be before the Lord. So I love that, and I wish you the best, and pray for an easy passing. We will, I'm sure, talk soon.